reprogramming the other things, because we can go, wow, that really was a choice. Maybe I have choices about what I'm believing about my own capabilities. Maybe I have choices about what people have been telling me should be important to me. And then we start to question, and I mentioned questions before. Questions are so important. When we start asking the right questions, then we can find new answers that we've been blind to before.
Hmm. I feel it's so important that we can reflect back on some of these changes that we've made or we could make to build strength and courage to, like you suggested, overcome the bigger obstacles in life.
Mhm.
Oftentimes I talk to people and they're so stuck, and I ask them, well, what have you overcome? What? Let's think back. Let's talk about. And sometimes they really haven't overcome anything big and challenging that they get to draw from. And so sometimes I'll just throw it out there. Hey, why don't you go try to run a half a marathon? Like, why don't you train for it and like realize what it feels like to train over time and succeed at doing something very challenging? Then you have something to pull from. What ways do you help people be encouraged to find the strength to overcome some of these habits?
So same thing, building that self-efficacy. So take on challenges, do something new, like you said, a marathon, walk around the block. For some people, that might be a huge accomplishment. Stretch, do simple things. Start out with simple things and then build up. And that's all about building resilience. And as we build resilience, we're more confident, we're more optimistic, we're more courageous to take on challenges.
Hmm.
It's all about engaging yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, and building the life that you choose for yourself.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. I race cars professionally in the desert, so 130 miles an hour across
Yeah,
terrain that's unpredictable. Good days, a day you don't die. So making decisions in life, this is easy. So
yeah,
you really can pull from your experiences in life, I think, is the message here. Even if, like you said, it's something as simple as stretching. If it's something you don't do and it's hard and you're fearful from doing it, then get after it. There's no harm in trying, right?
yeah. And fear is just one of those mind apps. I mean, sometimes there are real things to fear in life.
Yeah.
And many times our fears are shadow fears.
Hmm.
They're not real. They're there because we haven't put the full light of our knowledge and understanding on them. Because, shadow is when an object comes between the light and some other object and then it reflects, right? It's not real.
Yeah.
And when we fully shine the light of our knowledge and understanding, those shadow fears can disappear. So there's discernment involved there to distinguish between what's a real fear and what's a shadow fear.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think there's a lot of shadow fear out there. You have a topic on your website, says standing firm when your world is shaking. And some of the highlights in there is conquering life's challenge, fear, which we just talked about a little bit, uncertainty, anxiety, grief, and loss. And I
Yes.
just, these are such important topics right now in somewhat of a post-COVID society. We've had a lot of fear and anxiety and uncertainty across the nation with so many. How do we start to overcome some of that? What are some of the tools? And I certainly would encourage my listeners to check out your website and learn more about that. But what are some of your immediate thoughts?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. So there are several things that we can do, and I've experienced it. We've all experienced loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Loss can be dramatic loss, like a death, a divorce, a job loss, all of those kinds of things. My first husband died 17 years ago. I know loss. And it can be devastating and it can be very disorienting because when you lose somebody who's been a part of your life, you lose part of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't know who you are anymore. And so part of the recovery process is to rediscover who you are. And when we reframe it, then we can see it as an amazing opportunity to define ourselves as the person we choose to be. And so a lot of it is reframing. Yes, we've lost someone very dear to us. And what did I lose that that person brought into my life? So here's a reframe. I lost comfort. I lost, compassion. I lost whatever it is. And then we can begin to incorporate those own qualities in our own lives and express them to the world. And that's a fabulous way to honor the person we've lost.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is just, have a pity party. In our society, we have these expectations that things should just happen so quickly. And, if the person's gone, boom, get over it, right? I had somebody say to me that 2 weeks later, you're still sad? Well, yeah, I'm still sad. It was a sad thing that happened. Somebody said to me, well, you're just so lucky that your husband died. My husband left me. At least he's never coming back. I don't know if my husband's coming. How is that helpful, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a competition. And so allow yourself to feel your grief. Schedule it. Put it on your calendar. If it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 days, whatever it is, but honor that process. And then understand that it's time to move on, because, we do have to move on, but we can't just wait it out. Time doesn't heal. How we use time either heals or doesn't heal. And so we need to be intentional and purposeful about healing. So that's just one of the things that you can do. You can make a date with it.
So many good points there. My wife recently lost her father over the Christmas holiday. And, people say, oh, I'm so sorry. And our tendency is always say, oh, it's okay, But you know what? She says, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. I'm hurting. And I think that's allowed her to process a little bit better instead of saying, it's okay, just saying, yes, it sucks. Yeah. My life sucks right now, and like you said, make a date with it.
Yeah, those are things. And, view yourself as the hero of your own journey. It's a dark night, right? It's a dark night of the soul, as San Juan de la Cruz called it. And those dark nights happen, and it's not your life. It's a portion of your life.
Yeah.
And when we understand that and can put it into perspective, as much as it sucks, it doesn't change that it sucks. And yet we can understand that at some point it won't suck so much.
Right. Good point. Hey, I don't want to give away all your secrets here, but I would love for you to touch on anxiety a little bit. There's so many women I've met in society that are just suffering from anxiety and depression, whether some of that comes from postpartum or from being a mom or the pressures that are placed on them. But I just see so much anxiety out there. What are some of the tools or your thoughts on anxiety and overcoming that?
Yeah, so I think that's where reframing, EFT, and NLP can come into play, because anxiety is anticipating something that may happen in the future and being fearful about that. It's not something that has happened. It's something that we fear may happen. And so when we can get a better understanding of the nature of it, and then trace it back to, well, is this a mind app that I got programmed with? Is this, what am I worried about? What am I fearful about? And we can intervene in ways with EFT and NLP that will kind of bring it down a few notches. And once we get rid of all that extraneous stuff, and there are specific techniques we can use to do that, then we can be more rational in our approach as we think about it, and we can respond rather than react. So there's a lot that we can do that's preventive. If I'm anxious about an upcoming event or an upcoming conversation or whatever it may be, there's a lot of tools that we can use to prepare us for that, to take the edge off and bring the anxiety down.
Looks like you have your own podcast and a lot of wonderful topics on there. What do you typically cover for somebody that wants to dig into some of these podcasts?
So my concept is talking to business owners and just understanding their journey along their path. How did they get to their business, and what did they do along the way? And I've had such amazing fun talking with people about that. And then I always am curious about what is an overarching principle that they see in their business that they believe has contributed to their success in life and in business. And so, we talk about things like positive mindset, law of attraction. My business acronym that I use is mindset, skill set, get off your asset, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
what kinds of things like that have been instrumental? And my goal is that people will hear it and they'll be inspired by that. And see how those principles play out in their own lives and in their own businesses.
I love it. Sounds like fun. I always say get off our butts, and that's BUT apostrophe S, because we
Yes.
always have our butts, right? Well, I really
Yeah.
want to thank you for being on the show. I will put your website in the show notes. That's internationallifecoaching.net. Sallie Wagner, thank you for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure to learn a little bit more about what you do and living life a little more intentionally.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's show. It is my pleasure and honor to interview all of the guests that have been on the Answer is Yes podcast. If you have enjoyed the show, please go on iTunes and subscribe, give a rating, or simply tell a friend about the show. We also believe in the message of our guests and the positive influence of their stories. As my own mentor and coach, David Meltzer, has taught me, spend some time every day thinking and writing about the things in your own life that you have more than enough of. You will find out how blessed we really are. Please visit my website, livelifedriven.com, for the latest updates about me and what I'm doing. Plus, I post a monthly blog about the many topics on this show. This podcast can also be found there. As I learned early on in life, what you believe is what you will achieve. Thanks, Mark Victor Hansen, and thank you, and have a great